like to welcome you to the last installment of the 2013-14 Community Lecture Series. We have a very special presentation from a couple of very talented faculty members. The series will start again next September, and again it will be on Tuesday nights at 6:30 in Pioneer Room here. And we should have a pretty good lineup of folks. We haven't solidified that lineup yet, so I don't have those brochures for you, or I would be selling it. I want to thank in particular this year a few people. Al Bond is not here, but he's my IT person in the College of Letters and Science, and he's helped tremendously in helping us get things set up electronically. I also want to thank Sydney Inks, who is our intern. She's back here in the orange, or is that peach? I'm not sure what it is. I'm colorblind. So Sydney's our student intern, and she worked with Mark Williams before Mark Williams bolted for UW Stout. And I tried to get him back, but he wouldn't hear of it. He has a marital commitment that he needs to keep up out there now. I also want to thank Associate Dean Todd Good and Assistant Dean Donna Warren for making introductions when Mark did finally head out. Tonight's presentation is somewhat special in some ways because I've watched this project evolve over the last 3 years with these two magnificent faculty members. And we actually had a hand in supporting some of the original work, supporting students in the summertime with it as well. And Tori and Maysee and many, many others, I'm sure you'll mention their names during the presentation, have done a really tremendous job. And this is really a documentary that they've been producing, which I believe, and I keep saying it to them, should probably be on Wisconsin Public Television. And so we're going to be pushing for that however we can in whatever ways we can do it. I did want to give the bios of tonight's speakers. The title is, and I want to be sure I get this right, Finding the Middle Way, the Hmong People of Portage County. And now the glasses go on. This is where I show my age. There are two speakers tonight, presenters who have worked together on this project. The first is Tori Jennings. Tori received her PhD in anthropology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2010. She was a Social Science Research Council International Dissertation Research Fellow, that's a mouthful, in 2004 to 5. Since '98, Tori has been conducting ethnographic research with farmers and ranchers on a variety of human environmental issues, including water rights in the San Luis Valley of southern Colorado, adaptation to climate variability in the northern Great Plains, and the cultural and political dimensions of climate and climate change in Cornwall, England. So you've been definitely around. She has publications in many interdisciplinary journals and has edited volumes including Culture and Agriculture, Weather, Climate and Society, and Adaptation to Climate Change. And she has a forthcoming chapter in Anthropology and Climate Change. She is currently the coordinator of our anthropology minor at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Our second speaker is Maysee Herr, who's over here in the front row. Maysee was born in, and I want to be sure to say this right, Ban Banai, what do you know? Thailand, in the refugee camps. Her family arrived in the United States as Hmong refugees in 1976. She considers herself Hmong American and part of the 1.5 generation. Dr. Herr is the eldest of 6 children and was the first in her family to attend college. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater and a Master of Science degree in educational psychology and PhD in curriculum studies with an emphasis in early childhood education, both from Indiana University. You knew that I was from Indiana, right? Yeah, Indiana University, go Hoosiers. Dr. Herr was an elementary teacher at the Center for Inquiry in the Indianapolis Public School District prior to moving back to Wisconsin. She has been teaching at UW-Stevens Point for 6 years and is currently assistant professor in the School of Education, teaching undergraduate courses in educational psychology. She's served as a cultural consultant for the Hmong Documentary Project in Portland County, which you see part of tonight. For the last 2 years, she's conducted studies on Hmong mothers, parenting styles and beliefs, and how they correlate with children's academic performance. Her current research interests involve the use of critical discourse analysis to understand people's use of language and meaning. She also sits on a wide variety of community boards in the central Wisconsin area. She'll be chairing the 2014 Wisconsin Hmong Conference, scheduled to be held in September, which is hosted by the 12 Wisconsin Hmong Mutual Associations. It's my pleasure to introduce Tori Jennings and Maysee Herr.
Thank you all very much for coming out to this. Am I speaking loud enough for everybody? Okay, you can hear me in the back. Okay, well done. If my voice fades, please signal for me to speak up. There's some people here that I want to introduce, and possibly some other people that will come a little bit later for the project. So first and foremost is Matthew Brown. He is the director of the project. And we do want to, thank you. We do want to have enough time at the end for discussion, and the people that I'm introducing, we'll bring them up and so that we can all have a discussion about this. Is Christy going to be here? Okay, Christy Sablanca is the co-producer and the one of the co-editors of the project, and I refer to Christy as the glue that held this whole project together. Song Chang might show up a little bit later. He had a conflict. He is one of our cultural consultants. He is also a co-editor of the documentary. Pa Tao, she is our senior student project assistant. She's helped be a cultural consultant on the project, and she is our translator. And then Sue Clark Kubley, she is the director of HASIAC, which is the Hmong and Southeast Asian American Club, a student organization on campus. And she acted as a student advisor for this project and an advisor to us as well. Sue's knowledge of the Hmong people of this region is phenomenal, so she was a tremendous help. So what I'm going to do, Maysee and I are going to be sharing this discussion. I'm going to be focusing more on how the project developed and focusing on the contributions of our students. And then Maysee's going to take over from there. I'm going to show a couple of little teasers, one early on, and then we'll end with a little teaser at the end, and then we'll start opening it up for discussion. All right, this project began in 2011, and it was Matthew's idea. And it came about as a result of chickens. And to give some background to this, I had given a talk at the Small Cities Conference at UW-Stevens Point on backyard chickens and urban agriculture. And I didn't know Matthew at that time, but after I gave my paper, he came up and introduced himself, and he was a journalist at that time. And he suggested that I give the talk to the city of Stevens Point. And I did that, and we subsequently stayed in contact regarding chickens in the chicken permitting process in Stevens Point. And in case any of you don't know, we do not actually have a chicken ordinance. If a person wants to raise chickens in their backyard, you go to the Public Protection Committee, and the committee makes a decision to either approve you to have chickens or not approve you to have chickens. So it's decided on a case-by-case basis. A couple of applications occurred that raised Matthew's interest. And I'll give you two scenarios. In one case, a white man came to the monthly meeting, and he described in very clear detail the backyard chicken arrangement that he wanted to have on his property. He also had with him a list of signatures of neighbors who all said it was fine for him to do this. There was, the committee didn't ask to see these signatures, and there was very little deliberation made about his application. And he was granted the permit on the spot. A month later, a Hmong man came to the committee, and he also explained in very clear detail the plans he had for backyard chickens. And he too had a list of signatures from all his neighbors that said, yes, this is fine. And he asked the committee if they wished to see the signatures, and they immediately said, yes, we want to see them. And the committee then went on to deliberate at great length this application. And ultimately, they postponed the decision, and they wanted more information, including things like proof of insurance and whatnot. So the unequal treatment of these two applications gave Matthew an idea. He wanted to write a story about what we both viewed, because we were talking about this, what we both viewed as the underlying questioning and disregard directed at the Hmong people of our community. However, he wanted to also do something larger than that. He felt, I think, constrained by doing something in the local paper. And he and he and Christy already had experience of doing a documentary project together that was featured at the Central Wisconsin Film Festival. It's called Oro Verde. And so he suggested the idea of doing a documentary about this, and that's how the whole idea was born. And so we all began brainstorming this idea, and the first thing I did was I contacted Sue Kubley and Julie Lee, who was at that time, she was the president of HASIAC, and I want to say that she begins law school next year, by the way. So she's a graduate of UW-Stevens Point. And I wanted to know what they thought of the project, what concerns they had about the project, how did they think that we should proceed. As for myself, I knew absolutely nothing about documentary filmmaking, although I like photography, so I thought it was like really cool. But as an academic, I know something about grant writing, and to me, this project was going to need some money. And we all agreed that this would be a really great project for our students, and we could do a lot with it. And it was around that time that I think I met Maysee, and then she too became involved in the project. She became a cultural consultant. She went out with some of the interviews. And then she and I were working closely together in terms of directing and teaching the students how to do research. So now I want to show you this. Excuse me, I want to show you a little just teaser about this. This is just a couple of minutes.
Chỉ cần tới chị lúc chắc sẽ mời chị của chị hóa lượng đó chị là nhau chị sẽ chị của chị quay con mê làm bác của chị của tụi husband ấy nó sẽ chị sau thể khi tâm trạng thế khó phản này ước là chị phản đối thế họ có họ bắt đầu những chị đó nó sẽ ở sắm mở đơn. Good exercise. Yeah.
Okay, so there really is a video. All right, we had a number of goals with this project, and some of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to explore the intergenerational relationships between Hmong elders, their children, and their grandchildren. We wanted to look at the social context in which Hmong people work to maintain cultural traditions and connection with family and kin groups. We wanted to look at how Hmong and non-Hmong relationships in Portage County happen, what they look like, and we wanted to explore working life and the professional attainment of younger generations of Hmong Americans. And this is Song Chang. Some of the outcomes that we were hoping from this project is we wanted to build understanding and raise awareness about the Hmong people of Portage County. We wanted to engage Hmong students in off-campus community-based research and experiences that would enhance their professional development. We wanted to engage students in public discussions about what we call the middle ground or the middle way, and how this negotiated space actually strengthens communities. And we wanted to assemble materials that would be beneficial to the Hmong Association of Portage County. And these were all ways in which we were conceptualizing how do we get back to the community. So the title, Finding the Middle Way, was born out of an idea, out of a study of the negotiated space between being Hmong and being American, between Hmong and non-Hmong people in our community, between the old world and the new world, and what the future holds for our community with all of us in it. From the outset, we knew that building trust would be an essential feature of this documentary. And we knew that if at any time we violated this trust, the project would be doomed. So this was really, really important. And because of the history of racism leveled against Hmong people, we knew there was going to be a great deal of concern about a project like this. So we went about doing it in a very community-oriented way. And we regard this as a community-based project. We had this understanding of the concerns of the community in mind, and so we went about it kind of together. A lot of people were involved with this project. The core team itself involved somewhere between 13 and 15 individuals. These were students, faculty, staff, and members of the public. And also because we were aware of the organizational structure of the clan system in Hmong society, very early on in the project, we consulted with the Hmong American Association of Portage County and also with respected leaders in the Hmong community to see what they thought about the project, to talk to them about their concerns. Their support was essential to the project. So once we had funding in place and we had the endorsement of important leaders for the project, we started the first phase of the project, which was research and development. And I'm going to talk about 3 phases. So during the summer of 2012, we hired 5 student project assistants, including Pa Tao and Julie Lee and Maiku Lor and Ang Lee and Dang Vang. And one of the things I am most proud of about this project is the work accomplished by our students. They worked incredibly hard on this. We set up a really ambitious agenda for them, but that was preceded by these students receiving basically a crash course in how to do academic research. And each project assistant was expected to conduct at least 4 in-depth life history interviews with Hmong and non-Hmong members of the community. And they were also expected to transcribe recordings where necessary. A related job was the expectation that they would generate a list of potential interviewees for the project. And essentially, they were also trying to make particularly the Hmong community aware of this project. They were required to maintain detailed and meaningful field notes. We asked them to carry out library investigations and to generate annotated bibliographies of the materials at the Portage County Library and contribute data for a timeline project, which is now posted on our website, which you can find at hmongvideo.org. And furthermore, the students were required to write a reflection paper about their experiences and then submit a formal research proposal for an independent project that they would then present at the Coles Research Symposium or something similar to that, similar venue. So in total, our 5 project assistants, they completed 29 in-depth ethnographic interviews and 10 informal interviews. They compiled a list of 29 people who were interested in being videotaped for the documentary. They added 50 events and milestones between 1976 to 2012 to the Timeline project. And altogether, they produced 153 pages of original text, including field notes, reflection papers, research proposals, annotated bibliography, all done at a really high level. I was really impressed. Both Maysee and I, who basically graded this, were really impressed and pleased with the work they did. But really importantly, what these students did was lay the groundwork for the project, because I don't know, I'm not sure that it could have happened. So since Pa's here, I will thank you once again for all the work you did. So phase 2 is shooting and capture. And the team here consisted primarily of Matthew, Christy, Pa, and Song. And they shot some 200 hours of video, and that included about 106 interviewees. So they had a massive amount of work that they did. How many months, over what, because I know you were in cold weather and warm weather. How many months were you shooting? Matthew? 14 months altogether. Mm-hmm. And this is a list of all the people interviewed. And then the magic phase, phase 3, is editing, refinement, and sound mixing. And this is the, as I understand it, the creative process. This is where finding the story actually happens. And I have no idea, and I don't know if Matthew, Christy, and Song and Pa know how many hours they spent on this part of the project, but I imagine it was a lot. And how many sleepless nights that they had. So the very first screening was November 17th at the DUC. It was a packed house. It was actually more than packed. And I want to do a shout out for Chow Yang, who is our graphic designer for the project. And she is on the job market. So if anyone is needing a graphic designer, I highly recommend her. And we had 2 original painters